everyone. Welcome to the Unstuck Leader Series. I'm Nadia Ramcharan, the President and CEO of NRNY Consulting and the founder of the Unstuck Leader. Today with us, we have Rachel Foy, and I'm so excited to have her be a part of our today's recording and episode. And we're just going to jump right in. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about yourself, who you are, what are you up to in this world?
Well, Nadira, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And hey, guys, I always start with hey, guys. But for 2020, I can tell you for all of us, if you have not learned anything in 2020, then I don't know what you were doing. There have been so many lessons in 2020. So what I am up to at this point is really taking all that I have learned and truly apply it to my life, evolve in different areas. And we had talked a little bit earlier, but more than anything, just learning grace, learning to stay in my lane, and that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. So I'm just helping women to quit feeling like we have to have it all together. We have to be on point at every moment, but truly just a movement of I quit, and that we can choose to have a life that is full, healthy, and abundant, but we don't have to be everything to everyone at the cost of losing ourselves. So that's me.
Powerful introduction. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And can you share with us your stuck to unstuck story?
Okay. My stuck to unstuck, the one that really sticks out, that was the catalyst to getting everything going, is choice. So I start with choice because in my life, just as anyone, life happens and we don't know what to do with it. So I was at a crossroads in my life. Part of my backstory is at 3 months, my son died. So I had a son and he died at 3 months. And in that moment, I can tell you, I'm a believer. I believe in Christ, what have you. But at that moment, everything in my life was no more. Everything I ever knew, I questioned. All of these things about, good things happening to good people. And I feel like I had lived the life I was supposed to. You can see my air quotations. And so I didn't understand, like, why would this happen to me? So in my whole evolution, I had to choose. Every single day, I had to choose to wake up. Okay, let me be for real. I had to choose joy, and I had to choose to shift my perspective and my lens from why did this happen to me? Because who am I not to have trials in life? Like, who am I to be a chosen one for a tragedy not to hit? All of us have something that really shifts us in life. So my stuck is I was stuck with, am I going to choose to stay in where I was going downhill? I was going into a deep depression. And here's the thing, it's completely understandable. Like, who wouldn't? If you just buried a child, who wouldn't go into a depression? Who wouldn't be angry? But I had to choose that I didn't want to just survive in this life, that I wanted to be able to have his life mean something more than having lost him. So I took that energy, and unbeknownst to me, many years fast forward, I ended up going to counseling. So that was one of the things that I had to quit, was the mindset. And I was stuck in, well, it's very taboo to go to therapy. It's very taboo to go to counseling. I just need to pray about it and it'll be fine. Well, honey, it wasn't fine. And so I had to move from where I was to where I desired my life to be. And my stuck part is I was stuck in the choice. Am I going to choose to move forward and propel my life forward, allow this tragedy to mold me into something great? and mold me into something better, and not allow it to mold me into being bitter. So that was the greatest part, is moving from being stuck just in life and in that difficulty, and making the choice. It was all about choice. And that just really shifted to, I guess, what I call like the I Quit movement. Is it's just all about choice. Like my stuck was, I was at a crossroads and I had to choose. And it wasn't an easy choice. And every day I still choose. He was actually born December 7th. So this time of year is not always the easiest for me, but again, I have to choose my perspective, choose to allow myself to have my moments. But that was my greatest stuck to unstuck, is I was stuck in indecisiveness and I had to choose to move my life forward.
Oh my goodness, Rachel, I'm sitting here and I'm feeling emotional, and just hearing you speak, and hearing you share more about what happened to your son and the choices that you made. And every day we encounter all of these different choices. And
That's right.
what would you say? I mean, I feel like I have a lot of questions right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So many questions.
It's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
So one is, what support did you receive to make the choices that would support you with moving forward after such a tragic loss?
That's a great question. The first one, I would say, the first choice I made, the support, was going to therapy. And I did not go to therapy. I did not go to counseling as soon as I probably should have. It was at least a year before I went. And the reason I ended up going was because my life was not moving in the right direction. Everyone around me could see it and everyone around me could tell, but I was just stuck where I was. So first was counseling and therapy. Also, I had people in my life who truly undergirded me. They allowed me to have my moments, but I'll tell you one thing, my mom, she was instrumental in me moving forward. She was one of the supports. And a key thing she said to me was, it's okay for you to be upset. It's okay for you to cry. Like, it's okay for you to go there, but don't stay there. And that was huge for me, was the permission to allow myself to feel everything I was feeling, but not to stay there. So I would say those were the two greatest supports, was going to counseling and therapy, and then having someone tell me the tough truth. But then the last thing I would say, the support, was actually taking action.
Right.
I could have not chosen to go to therapy. I could have listened to what she said and not applied it to my life. So the third thing I would say for sure was acting on those things for the better.
And one of the days when, there may be days where we feel like we don't want to act, or we don't feel like it, or there's just a lot that comes up for us. What's the conversation that you have with yourself, right? How do you, or what do you specifically say or do that really gets you to move forward and not remain stagnant?
That's a real good question. That's a really great question. And that's a real question. So in my book, I have a book called I Quit, the how-to guide to letting go of everything that's holding you back. And I talk about that in the book. Is first we have to acknowledge, we have to acknowledge the fact that I'm not feeling this. And then after we acknowledge that, then we have to identify, at least for me, I'm identifying for myself, why? Was I triggered by something? Am I being emotional right now? Am I stressed? Am I overwhelmed? So I'm actually trying to pinpoint and identify exactly why am I in this state. And then once I determine why I'm in that state, then I go through, for me, you have a choice. You can do it or you cannot do it. But here's why we should do it. And so I work on talking myself into it. I tell people every day, they're always like, you're so positive and you just wake up so happy. And I'm like, child, it take a whole morning routine to get here like that. I do not wake up like this. I wake up, and I have to choose. And so that's what I would encourage people is acknowledge where you are. Acknowledge, like, I'm sick of this, or I don't want to do this, or I don't feel like it today. Cool. And then we have to move forward with identifying why. Maybe it was because I had a late night. Well, maybe you need to go to bed early tonight. But that doesn't negate that I have responsibilities. And so then I have to talk myself into it opposed to talking myself out of it.
Yeah. And, just hearing you speak, this next question, just came to mind. It's, given everything that you've experienced, what do you do to create a space to allow yourself to feel everything that's come up for you? Because I think it's really amazing that you're able to like redirect yourself so that you are able to move forward. And then there are going to be times that we have our emotions and a lot of feelings come up for us, but we're still able to move forward. So do you create like sacred space for yourself to just allow everything to come up to the surface and then like really feel it in the present moment?
The short answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
The short answer is yes. And there's a number of different ways I do it, but I can tell you my greatest thinking place, releasing place, all of it is when I am close to water. So whether I'm close to the beach or I'm close to the ocean, I'm in Texas, so where I'm located, we don't have a lot of beaches close by. So my closest water is when I'm in the shower or I take bubble baths. That is really my time. I take bubble baths, and during that time, I kid you not, I will cry, I will sob, and it's something so healing and refreshing about letting it all out. I don't want to be like a soda that you have in a can where it's just so much going on and I'm shaking up and then you just pop. So I work very hard to allow myself to have those moments and to truly feel it all. So I do that with water, but then I also like to go on walks. I like to get out in nature by myself, no devices, no technology, just me, nature, the pavement, and I walk. And so I have some trails around my house, and there are like some national forests that I like to go to. And during those walks, I'm talking to God, I am crying, I'm coming up with master plans. There's just so many different pieces, but that's a great question because oftentimes we try to push down what we're feeling, or we'll only allow ourselves so much. Like, you can cry for this 15 seconds, or I'll give you 60 seconds, one whole minute, and then, girl, you got to get it together. No. Sometimes I tell you, the greatest blessing has been the times when I've allowed myself throughout an entire day. I would ebb and flow. And by the next day, I felt better because everything had been allowed to pour over and to flush out. And it's like I could start refilling myself with the good stuff. Like in our body, when we have to get out all the toxins, like you got to allow yourself to get it out, get it all out of there, and then refuel. And you're going to have to get it out again. Right. And then it's ever evolving. So
yeah, we're always like recycling our thoughts and feelings and emotions. And
that's right.
I think when you shared more about just being around water is that, and not living near beaches, I think you've really shifted your perspective on like, well, I could just go in the shower, right? Like that's still water, and I can still be in water and near water.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think, it's just about shifting our perspective sometimes. Like we always tend to look at like a lack of
Yeah.
rather than the abundance and like what we do have available to us and like what's right in front of us. And
That's
even
right.
just going like out on walks and connecting
Mhm.
with nature. And, the fact that you shared that you have like no devices on you, we're so like attached to like our phones that
Yes.
we're like, oh my goodness,
Yes.
something happens and no one could reach me.
Exactly.
Uh,
That's right. That's right. Exactly right.
like the world will be fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
They'll
Um,
be fine.
but just connecting with God, or whatever higher power you believe in, and
That's right.
with yourself. And I think being in nature is so powerful because it
Mhm.
doesn't judge you. It's open. It is just a space where you can truly be yourself and be authentic, and whatever's coming up for you, you could just let it go.
Yes.
And the way in which that you've um, have really, I guess one supported yourself with showing up powerfully and being powerful, making an impact in this world, and then also allowing yourself, giving yourself permission, which is what you shared previously, to like feel everything, and
Mhm.
then just do that, and then keep it moving, right? Like just keep
That's
moving
right.
forward. And
Mhm.
no matter like what it is that you're facing, what you're experiencing, you can still move forward, even with everything else that's happening. Um,
Yes.
so
Mhm.
I appreciate hearing that and just your story, and how you move from being stuck to unstuck, and just your full transparency and authenticity and your energy. um, I know for me has really resonated, and I know that everyone watching this will find it valuable. And I'm just like I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I had so many questions in my head, and I was like, oh my, I just want to make sure that I'm, asking questions
Right.
that one will lift, your experiences in such a great way. And so I appreciate you sharing that
Mhm.
so much. Um, so one last thing that we do on the Unstuck Leader series is these table topics. So
Oh, Shucky. Okay.
someone's asked one question. Um,
Okay.
and I never know what these cards say. There's like so many to go through anyways. So
Okay.
choose one.
Okay.
All right, here we go. What's the most fun date you've ever been on?
The most fun date. Let me think. The most fun date. So, do I need to have it like a romantic day with my husband or with my girlfriend?
It could be anything. Anything you
Okay.
want it to be.
I would say the funnest date was it was my girlfriends and I. Sorry, honey. I know I could have included you, but I have to tell the truth. Okay. I have to tell the truth. Okay. So it was my girlfriends and I, and let me tell you, this is probably the funnest part. We have gone through college together, yada yada, had kids, got married, all that good stuff. And we were preparing, we were at a hotel and we were all getting dressed to get ready to go out like to a jazz club. And the funnest part is as we started to look around the room, it was not even 10 o'clock, and like three people had already fallen asleep, and two other people were yawning. So the greatest date we had was we literally put on our PJs with a full face of makeup. We ate popcorn, we sat around and talked about the good old days. Like that. And the part that was probably the funnest, but the most ridiculous is we all were like, no, we don't want to go. We paid money, had tickets, got dressed, and we're like, nah, we're gonna stay in our PJs. But it was so fun. So
Yeah.
I would say that was probably the absolute funnest because we just sat around, we laughed, we talked, and we just had a good time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Girls' night is always such a great experience. So I'm glad. Thank
Yes.
you so much for sharing that. So before we, end our time together, can you share
Mhm.
with everyone what you're up to. I know that you mentioned you have a book, so if you could just share a little bit more about that, and what your plans are for 2021, the types of services that you offer. So let us know everything that's going on.
Well, thank you. So thank you so much for the time here. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Like this interaction and the energy, I hope you guys can feel it because this has been so great. Nadir, you are doing a great job with the Unstuck Leader Series. It's really great. And so I'm grateful to be a part of it. I do have a book on Amazon. It's a best-selling book on Amazon. I Quit, the how-to guide to letting go of everything that's holding you back. I also have an I Quit movement. So it's women from all over the world who have joined the movement. And it's all about being able to choose for yourself, like understand that we truly have the power to choose. And in the book, as well as in the group, we just go through empowerment. I'm Rachel B. Foy, the life strategist and America's favorite quitter. So I have group coaching as well. I coach women just with being able to shift their mindset, to stand firmly in their value while understanding their self-worth. So we really go through shifting our perspective and understanding that life is going to happen, but if we have the tools and the life strategies to be able to handle it, we can get through it much more gracefully and not have so much infliction on ourselves, so much harm on ourselves. As well as starting in January, I have a repeat, an encore. I do a masterclass, and the masterclass is from vision to manifestation. So it's all about, it starts out with the masterclass, and it's a 6 weeks course, but it goes all into how to stop just putting pretty pictures on your board and actually seeing it in your life. And how do you do that? You do that with actionable steps. So my brand is everything I Quit. You can find me on social media. It's Rachel B. Foy across all platforms. And I Quit with Rachel B. Foy across all platforms. And so that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll be sure to add the link on social media to your book so folks can easily get to it, purchase their copy. And Rachel, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your Stuck to Unstuck story that was so powerful and moving. And we'd love to have you back on here, at some point in the future when we continue doing these episodes, and we'd love to hear what you're up to in the world, even from a year from now. We can't wait. That's going to be so exciting for us to hear, and just to see you on social media and everything that you're working on. And I want to thank everyone for viewing today's episode. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, or there's certain topics that you want to learn more about, or anything that you want to hear more about, feel free to let me know. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I enjoy it. And I always tell people at the end, whenever I talk, I tell them to go out and map it, to make a positive impact today.
Thank you.
Thanks.